Mira Devlin had never believed in fairy tales. Not even when she was 7, clutching a half-broken music box while her mother told her stories of love that conquered everything. Love didn't conquer hunger. It didn't protect from storms. And it certainly didn't save her father from walking out and never looking back. So no, Mira didn't believe in fairy tales. She believed in code, in numbers, in logic, in building something that couldn't vanish when someone stopped loving you. That's why she created Lamora, the AI-powered personal data shield that caught the attention of a dozen tech firms and ended up being acquired for $38 million when she was just 25. But somehow, a few months later, she had been standing on a balcony in Santorini in a white silk dress, her fingers trembling as Trent Alcott slipped a 5-carat diamond ring onto her finger. And for a brief moment, one she'd never admit aloud, she had dared to believe maybe love could come after all. But that was before she realized what kind of man Trent really was. Before she saw how easily the same charm that seduced her was used to manipulate everyone around him. Before she heard him on that call. It had been around 11:38 p.m. the night before. She remembered because she was working late in the home office, tweaking a proposal for a microfund she planned to launch quietly. Something small, something hers. Something separate.
Trent didn't know about it.
He wouldn't have cared anyway. He had just gotten off the phone with his publicist and hadn't realized she was standing outside the door. His voice was relaxed, smug. Yeah, Mira? She's good for the optics, you know. Smart enough to impress the Forbes crowd, but quiet. No drama. No ambition anymore. There was laughter. She's basically retired. That's what I like. She knows not to step into my lane. Mira didn't move. Not at first. It wasn't the words themselves that hurt the most. It was the ease with which he said them, like she was a piece of strategy. Like he had trimmed down her edges to fit into his glass display case, and now expected her to sit there, polished and silent. She walked away from the door quietly, her throat burning. In the silence of their bedroom, she looked at the ring on her hand, the one that had felt like a promise. And all at once, it felt like a lock. Morning came like it didn't know what had happened. Soft sunlight poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows of their penthouse, wrapping everything in gold. The kind of perfect morning you see on lifestyle blogs. Clean sheets, fresh orchids in a vase, the faint hum of city life below. Mira stood by the edge of the bed, barefoot on the warm hardwood floor. She wasn't crying. She had done that last night in the bathroom with the water running so he wouldn't hear. She was quiet now.
Calm. Resolved.
She reached for the velvet box in the drawer, the one the ring had come in when Trent proposed in Paris, on a rooftop surrounded by candlelight and photographers he had pretended were coincidental. She placed it on the pillow next to where he still slept. Then she slipped off the ring. The weight of it gone from her finger felt like a breath finally exhaled. On top of the box, she placed a single note, handwritten, on her personal stationery. You taught me everything, except how to stay silent. She walked away, without looking back. Mira didn't take much. Just a small suitcase she had packed the night before, a passport, and her old laptop, the one with the cracked corner, full of projects she had never shown Trent. She left through the back elevator, the one staff used. No one noticed. Outside, a black car was waiting. Elena was driving. Are you sure? She asked as Mira climbed in. Mira didn't answer right away. She looked out the window, watching the penthouse disappear behind a row of steel and glass. Then she nodded. I'm done being quiet. The first person Trent called when he woke up and saw the note was his mother. The second was his lawyer. By noon, the tabloids had picked up the story. Tech heiress leaves billionaire fiancé hours before charity gala. Myra's face was on every gossip site, most of them describing her as Trent Alcott's stunning but reclusive fiancé. He couldn't reach her. Her number was disconnected. Her socials were wiped. She was gone. Vanished. But she hadn't gone into hiding. She had gone back to work. Over the next 3 days, Mira did what she did best. Build quietly. She set up a temporary office at Elena's flat in Brooklyn, tiny, sunlit, and full of mismatched mugs and old startup posters. She pulled together the project she had been quietly assembling for the last 2 years, a fund focused on women-led ventures in emerging tech. But that wasn't all. Each woman she contacted had a story. A voice no one listened to. A deal she lost. An investor who called her too emotional. They remembered Mira. The time she reviewed their pitch deck at 1 a.m. The time she vouched for their patent. The time she sent them $25,000 with nothing more than a keep building note. They remembered because no one else had believed in them then. And now they were billionaires, rock stars, CEO founders, disruptors. They told her yes, immediately. Elena turned from her laptop one evening, eyes wide. Mira, she said, you're not going to believe this. 6 messages. 6 confirmations. 6 private jets. All scheduled to arrive in New York on the same day. All flying in for her. Mira stared at the screen. And for the first time in weeks, she smiled. The jets were symbolic. No one said that aloud, but everyone felt it. Each one carried a woman Mira had once backed quietly behind the scenes, while the world labeled her the beautiful genius who gave it all up for love. The headlines had painted her like a footnote in Trent Alcott's story. But what the world didn't know was that while Trent had been playing king in boardrooms, Mira had been building queens. And now, those queens were flying in. One by one. The first message had come from Noor Qasim, the founder of BioVive, a healthcare startup that revolutionized affordable cancer screening in low-income countries. She hadn't forgotten the day Mira reviewed her pitch deck, when no one else would. I've got a board meeting in Berlin, but it can wait, Noor wrote. Text me the arrival time. The second was from Alia Tran, a Vietnamese-American gaming entrepreneur whose first prototype had been destroyed in a data breach. Mira had quietly connected her with an angel investor to save her. Mira, I owe you everything. I'd fly through a storm to stand behind you. Then came Sasha Wilder, a pop sensation who had once been buried under NDAs and abusive contracts. Mira had helped her buy back her music rights under a shell company no one ever traced back to her. I have a show in Milan. I'll cancel it. Say the word. The others followed like gravity pulling the stars in. Lucia Martel, fintech founder. Violet Drake, Oscar-winning filmmaker. And of course, Elena, who had been Mira's right hand all along, building firewalls while the world underestimated her. By the 5th message, Mira was trembling. Not from fear. From validation. All those years she'd thought she had slipped into invisibility, sitting beside Trent at fundraisers while people asked if she missed working, smiling while being introduced as Trent's girl, swallowing her ideas before they escaped. All of it had been leading here. She hadn't been invisible. She had been planting seeds. And now they were blooming. That night, Mira sat alone on the rooftop of Elena's apartment. It wasn't glamorous, just an old wooden bench, some string lights, and a view of the skyline that shimmered like possibility. She held her phone in her hands, but didn't look at it. No socials. No inbox. Just the memory of that call. Trent's voice, low and amused. She's basically retired. She clenched her jaw. Then she opened her notes app and wrote down one sentence. You never retired me. You rewired me. By the 5th day, Trent was spiraling. The tabloids were relentless. Mira Devlin vanishes. Tech Beauty walks out on Billionaire Alcott. Where is Mira now? He tried to spin it. His team told the press Mira was taking a wellness sabbatical, that the wedding was postponed by mutual agreement, and that she was deeply committed to the relationship. But no one could explain the ring on the pillow, or the note, and people were starting to root for her. The memes came fast. A picture of the diamond ring with, when the exit strategy is cleaner than the merger. A video edit showing Mira walking out of the penthouse to Beyoncé's Freedom. Fan accounts popping up with names like @SilentQueenMira and @RingOnThePillow. The public hadn't just noticed, they had chosen sides. And Trent hated losing. He finally made the mistake of calling Elena. I know she's with you, he said, voice sharp. Elena leaned back in her chair and smiled slowly. Then why are you calling me? Trent's frustration crackled through the speaker. This is bad for both of us. Mira needs to come back. We'll issue a joint statement. Say it was a misunderstanding. Elena cut him off. Trent, let me tell you a secret. Silence. She didn't leave the ring because she was broken. She left it because she finally realized it never meant anything.
Click.
Back in the apartment, Mira was sitting cross-legged on the floor, going through old sketches from her early L'Amour days. Whiteboards covered with algorithms, notes in blue ink, ideas that never made it into the final product. So much of her had been buried. Not destroyed. Just shelved. Forgotten behind Trent's shadow. Now she was collecting it all.
Piece by piece.
Her thoughts. Her fire. Her name. Not his version. Her own. The plan came together like a symphony. In 48 hours, Mira and her team had set up the event. It would take place at the Viridian Summit, an elite conference of investors, CEOs, and disruptors, the exact kind of space where Mira had once been tolerated but never truly seen. This time, she wasn't coming as a guest. She was coming as the keynote speaker, backed by the same women who had changed the world because she once believed in them. And they were flying in one by one, in 6 private jets. On the morning of the summit, Mira stood in front of a full-length mirror. She wore no diamonds, no designer logos, just a tailored navy blue suit with sharp shoulders and soft lines, elegant, understated, powerful. Her hair was pulled back in a sleek bun. Her eyes were calm. Elena entered, holding her phone. They've all landed. Mira nodded, took one last look at herself, and said quietly, "Let's go change the story." The first jet touched down at 9:12 a.m. A Gulfstream G700, sleek and silver, cut through the clouds like a blade. The tarmac shimmered with heat as the door hissed open and a woman in a linen jumpsuit stepped out. Noor Qasim. She didn't walk, she strode. Tall, composed, eyes hidden behind matte black sunglasses. Her team followed behind her, silent, almost reverent. Everyone knew who she was. The woman who made cancer detection cheaper than a coffee. The Forbes cover, the Davos keynote, the UN speech. But before all of that, she had been a scared med student with an idea no one believed in, until Mira backed her. "Where's Mira?" Noor asked as she stepped into the black car waiting at the tarmac. "She's waiting at Viridian Hall," said the driver. Noor smiled. "Then let's not waste time." At 9:27 a.m., the second jet landed. Out stepped Aaliyah Tran, wearing combat boots and a neon green jacket, her hair shaved on one side, the other dyed violet. She took a selfie with a hanger in the background and posted it with the caption, "Flight mode, disabled. Loyalty, activated." She boarded her armored SUV, without another word. At 9:34 a.m., a crimson-red jet pulled in like thunder. The side read Wilderworld in chrome lettering. Sasha Wilder, international pop icon, feminist firestarter, Grammy-winning singer, emerged with her entourage trailing behind her like glitter. She paused, looked up at the sky, and muttered, "Told you she'd rise." Then she got into her limo. By 10:05, 4 jets had landed. Airport staff began whispering. News cameras showed up. Twitter exploded. Why are these mega women all flying into NYC at the same time? Something is about to happen. I can feel it. Where is Mira Devlin? At 10:41 a.m., Lucia Martel arrived in a black tailored suit. Her fintech company had just gone public the previous month. She didn't even wait for her assistant to collect her bags. As she got into her vehicle, a journalist tried to stop her. "Lucia, is it true you were funded by Mira Devlin? What's this gathering about?" Lucia turned her head. About time people start asking better questions. And with that, the door shut. The 6th and final jet landed at 11:02 a.m. It didn't have any markings. No fancy decals. No entourage. Just a simple white jet with clean wings and a whisper-quiet engine. Out stepped Violet Drake, holding nothing but a leather notebook and wearing Converse shoes under her floor-length coat. She was the quiet one, the one who never gave interviews, who once said, "I don't want attention. I want legacy." She paused at the base of the stairs. looked out toward the skyline, whispered, "She's ready." Then she walked off. Across the city, in the beating heart of Manhattan, Viridian Hall was transforming. The annual Viridian Summit was one of the most prestigious events on the tech calendar, a who's who of venture capital, startups, media, and politics. Tickets cost more than rent in most cities. Attendees wore watches more expensive than most cars. This year, the buzz was louder than ever.
But no one knew why.
Because Mira had kept it quiet. No PR blitz. No press junket. Just a name added quietly to the speaker list 3 days before. Keynote: Mira Devlin, founder, Lamora managing partner, Silent Sky Fund. And just beneath that, special guest panelists, to be announced. Inside the green room, Mira stood before a mirror again. This time, she wasn't trembling. No ring. No apology. No fear. Her suit was black today. Sharp, elegant, edged with quiet rebellion. Elena stood beside her, tapping away on a tablet.
"They're all here," she said.
"We've got the live stream set up. Sasha's team has already pushed the hashtag. It's trending." Mira nodded. She looked at her reflection, not to fix anything, but to meet her own eyes. For years, she had been told that being low maintenance made her desirable, that being pleasant made her valuable, that being silent made her easy to love. Today, her voice was going to be the loudest in the room. At 11:45 a.m., just 15 minutes before the keynote, a familiar figure arrived at the venue. Trent Alcott. He wore his usual smirk, the one that said, "I own this room before I enter it." He was flanked by 2 PR consultants and a photographer, ready to craft the perfect concerned X image in case Myra's appearance turned messy. When he reached the VIP entrance, the attendant gave him a neutral look. "Your name?" the woman asked. He frowned.
"Trent Alcott."
Well, I was invited." She checked her list, then smiled politely. "I'm sorry, Mr. Alcott. Your name isn't on the list." He blinked. What? That's not possible. This is my summit." "Not anymore," she said, and turned to the next guest. Inside the main hall, every seat was taken. Journalists lined the aisles. Cameras perched like hawks. The energy was electric, part anticipation, part chaos. The stage was bare except for a single podium. And then the lights dimmed. A spotlight bloomed, and Mira Devlin walked out. She didn't rush. She didn't smile nervously. She didn't flinch. She walked like the air belonged to her, like the floor had been waiting for her to step on it. The applause didn't come instantly, not because the audience didn't respect her, but because they didn't know if they were allowed to cheer yet. But then someone stood.
Noor.
Then Elia. Then Sasha, Lucia, Violet, and Elena. All 6 women, standing tall, arms folded, proud. And the applause thundered. Mira stood at the podium and let it ring. When it finally quieted, she spoke. Her voice was clear.
Warm.
Measured. "Some of you know me as the woman who co-founded Lamora. Others know me as someone who left tech behind. And some of you only know me as the one who left a ring on a pillow." A few chuckles. A few murmurs. But every eye stayed locked on her. What you don't know is that while I was retired, I was writing checks. I was building companies. I was whispering yes when the world screamed no. She turned slightly, motioning to the 6 women behind her. "I didn't stop creating. I stopped explaining. I didn't go silent. I went strategic." Another ripple through the room. They said I was background noise. I became the speaker.
Pause.
Hold. And today, I'm not launching a company. I'm launching a movement. Mira stepped back as a massive screen lit up behind her. Silent Sky Fund, $200 million in founding capital. Female-led. Equity-focused. Global. The hashtag exploded online. Hashtag the Silent Sky. Backstage, Trent stood frozen in the shadows. For the first time in his life, he didn't know what to say. He had underestimated her. And now, Mira Devlin wasn't his footnote. She was the headline. The internet didn't even wait for the keynote to end. By the time Mira said her closing line, they tried to silence the architect. But the blueprint never needed their permission. The video was already clipped, captioned, and reposted across TikTok, X, Threads, Instagram, and YouTube. Within minutes, hashtag The Silent Sky had hit trending status in 42 countries. Within the hour, Mira Devlin's name had more searches than any sitting politician in America. And by nightfall, she was everywhere. But Mira didn't care about the metrics. She wasn't building for virality. She was building for legacy. After the keynote, the women she'd mentored, now her co-founders, her sisters in fire, joined her on stage. There were no formal speeches, no fundraising pitches, no buzzwords, just presence. Noor hugged her tightly. You did it. Mira shook her head. We did. Aaliyah snapped a group photo, captioning it, She gave us the first yes. Today we gave it back. And Sasha whispered, It's never been about revenge. It's always been about truth. They didn't walk off stage. They owned it until the lights dimmed. Meanwhile, the press went feral. Tech Cinderella wears combat boots now. The rise of Silent Sky, is this the future of venture capital? Trent who? She left the ring, took the power. Mira had done something bigger than leave a man. She had rewritten the script. Later that night, she sat on the balcony of the Viridian Grand Hotel, feet tucked under her, sipping tea. No champagne. No camera crew. Just peace. Elena came out barefoot and quiet. Want to see something? She handed Mira her tablet. On screen an email. Short but significant. From Melinda Gates' office. Subject: Silent Sky Fund. Body: We'd love to connect. Your vision aligns with several of our global impact efforts. Let us know when you're available. Mira didn't smile. She exhaled. That meant more than $1 billion valuation. That meant they heard her. Trent, on the other hand, was unraveling in real time. He'd tried damage control, releasing a blurry Instagram story from a yacht, pretending he was unbothered. But trolls filled the comments. Where were your jets, bro? Mira built an army while you bought watches. She's not yours to define anymore. Investors grew cold. A board seat offer was rescinded. And one of his own clients pulled a multi-million-dollar partnership, citing misaligned public ethics. He told himself it was just the internet being fickle. But deep down, he knew Mira wasn't just the storm. She was the forecast. The next week, the New York Times Magazine featured Mira on its cover. No diamonds. No filters. Just her in a gray sweater, sitting on a staircase, barefoot, smiling softly. The headline read, She never raised her voice. Just the standard. In the interview, Mira was asked, Do you regret giving up your seat at Trent Alcott's table? Her reply was instant. I didn't give it up. I built my own table. And it has better food. 2 months later, Silent Sky Fund had raised $600 million in co-funding. Their first 3 ventures, a women-led AI ethics platform, a deep-sea sustainable energy startup, and a refugee-led microbank, had already gone into prototype phase. But the biggest win? The Whisper network changed. Women started naming Mira in their Who Helped You lists. Founders stopped hiding the backers behind the backers. People talked openly about the years Mira spent funding others quietly, silently, without credit. And the world finally listened. One crisp autumn afternoon, Mira visited her old neighborhood in Queens. She walked past her childhood school, now renamed the Devlin School for Girls in STEM, thanks to a quiet donation from one of her fund partners. A small group of girls waved to her from the playground. Are you that lady with the jets? One asked, eyes wide. Mira knelt down. No, she said with a wink. I'm the one who sent the jets. And they believed her. Because by then everyone did. The end. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share for more interesting stories.